You scream. Feel this way. 'Cause you have so hard to take care of me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Mm. How y'all feeling this morning? So a lot is happening. Sorry. I was getting the update on the Diddy trials for y'all because it's a lot going on. So my bad, and I'm gonna tell y'all all that in a second. So good morning, welcome back to Morning Coffee. We got a lot going on, especially in the Diddy trials. So please hold on tight to your wig caps, okay? Hold on tight to your wig caps because it's a lot happening in the Diddy trial. So first and foremost, if you haven't heard already, the freak off videos were shown in court yesterday. So this is like the big moment everybody's been waiting for. We keep hearing about these freak offs. We keep hearing about these big elaborate parties. Apparently, the videos were shown yesterday to the jury, but they're only going to be shown to the jury. So the hopes that we had about potentially seeing what was happening in the freak offs or hearing more or hearing about celebrities probably won't happen. And from what I'm getting, the case is not really about freak offs with other celebrities. The freak offs, what he's actually on trial for right now is the freak offs that were happening with women that he was in relationship with and who he or was engaged with at some intimate level. So they showed portions of the freak offs to the jury yesterday. So people are saying that they saw clips of the freak offs. They didn't see an entire freak off, but they were seeing portions of the freak offs. They were given headphones and a screen yesterday to watch the portions of the freak offs in court. So the rest of the people in the courtroom did not get to in any way see the freak offs. Now, there are people in the courtroom who are saying that they were able to hear like some of the moans or some of the like a little bit of like gathering of what was going on in the freak offs, but they weren't able to see or hear exactly what the jury was hearing. So the jury saw portions of it, but people are also saying that the jury didn't really have much of a reaction to it. They were saying that people weren't really gasping and there was no audible sounds from the jury, like they were so surprised or disgusted. But people are also saying that the jury has been like tight, like we're not showing y'all nothing since the beginning of the trial. So that's important to note. Now we're never going to see the freak offs. Potentially, I don't know. They may get leaked. Who knows? Because things have been getting leaked from the trial left and right. But as of right now, no one who is not on the nobody who is not sitting on the jury will ever see the videos of the freak offs. So there's that. Now, the other thing is that there's been a bunch of mess with the jury. The jury is in shambles, okay? Like, it's not looking good. So, and it leads me to believe that some of this is scam likely, this trial. And I'm going to tell you why, but let me explain first what is happening with the jurors. So one juror was dismissed yesterday. So the reason, if you all heard last week, there was some back and forth about whether or not juror number 6 should be dismissed. And the reason for that was because there was some discrepancy in where he lives. So because this is a New York trial, they only are supposed to have folks who live and reside in New York sitting on the jury. Now, what happened is that for some reason, one of the jurors, juror number 6, there was some discrepancy about whether or not he lived in the Bronx or in Jersey. What came out was that the mother of his child, his fiance, his wife, whoever it is, a girlfriend, she lives in the Bronx. So juror number 6, Diddy, in the Diddy trial, the person lives in the Bronx. Now, he's also linked to an address in Jersey. So the problem is that you have to live in New York to be on the trial, and because there's a back and forth about where he lived, the judge was questioning, like, what's this about? So the judge was going to dismiss, but the defense team wanted to make the argument to keep juror number 6 on the jury. Now, the reason that they argued this is because they believed that juror number 6 added diversity to the jury. Why? Because he was a black man. Now, he's a black man. He's a black man who they believe was from the Bronx, and they're saying that he's a self-proclaimed 90s hip hop fan, right? And so in their mind, and it seemed like the juror was leaning towards not finding Diddy guilty. And remember, it only takes one juror not agreeing with whatever the verdict is for there to be a hung jury. So if one person doesn't agree, they have to they're going to retrial, and so that can mess up the whole thing. And the defense team probably wants that to happen because a lot of this does not look good for Diddy so far. So they argued that they needed to keep him as a black man. Ultimately, the judge decided that he needed to be gone, but they did try to play the race card and say that the prosecution team wanted him gone because of the fact that he was black. Ultimately, they removed him from the jury. Now, there's another juror that had an issue yesterday that came up. The juror yesterday, at some point, I don't think they reported yesterday, they may have reported on Friday, but the other juror reported to the judge that he got a text message from a random phone number that he didn't recognize asking him if he was juror number 6. And that led the judge to believe that he's been talking to someone outside of the jury about the case. Now, this is where this whole thing is starting to feel scam likely to me, and that something is going to go wrong. The reason that I believe that something is going to go wrong is because they are truly the jury is not sequestered. So because the jury's not sequestered, they go home every day. Now, I've been saying this, in a trial this high profile, the jury should not be allowed to go home every day because it's very unlikely that they're not going to talk to people about the case. Now, I also want to say that Diddy has a lot of reach, and he's been known to try to get witnesses to sway or to get victims to sway or not to testify. And so now, because they're sending him home every day and his family is in court every day, who's to say that they're not reaching out to the jury trying to convince them to say that he's not, or to mess up the trial? And again, obviously that's very illegal, but that's never stopped Diddy before. So for me, I feel like this whole thing is getting a little scam likely, and they still haven't sequestered the jury even after all of this. So now the jury's just out here in the world. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially for such a high profile case where we know that things could potentially go wrong. So that's just my personal opinion on the scam likely. Like, something about this just doesn't feel all the way right to me about how this is going, but that's just my personal opinion. Other people say that they feel like the judge is doing a great job, but it's giving that y'all want this to be a mistrial in some capacity. Now, the most recent thing that just came up, TMZ reported, is that the male escorts, travel, hotels, expenses were paid for by Diddy. So if you all remember, a part of it being a trafficking charge means that they had to transport male prostitutes or sex workers for the purpose of prostitution and pay them for it to be trafficking, or it has to be forced, coercion, or fraud, right? So those are the qualifications. So if he did, in fact, pay for the male workers to go across state lines, that's considered trafficking. Now, the other thing is that they're trying to say that he was running a criminal enterprise through Bad Boy, his record label. So if he paid for these things through Bad Boy, that then goes to the RICO and the racketeering charge and saying that he ran a criminal enterprise. But here's what they're saying. So they're saying that today at day 25, a federal agent testified about travel and hotel expenses involving alleged male escorts that Diddy paid for. Delisha Penland, a special agent with U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, the agency prosecuting the case against Diddy, testified Diddy's American Express account was charged $47,000 for damages at a single hotel in New York in one instance. $47,000 for damages in one instance? One freak off? Now that's money. She also told the jury that Cassie Ventura and Jules Theodore, an alleged male escort, stayed at a London hotel on a particular date, which was paid for on Diddy's Amex, as well as Virgin Airline plane tickets for Jules. That is moving people across state lines for the purposes of prostitution. More travel records were cited during the testimony, including the American Airlines flight from New York City to LA and the stay at the Four Seasons Hotel for a man named Clayton Howard, aka Dave. Bad Boy Entertainment is listed on the travel invoice. An entire criminal organization, because now he's using the bad boy money to pay for it. Penland also testified about the booking for the Intercontinental Hotel in Times Square, New York, in the name of Frank Black. Now, if you don't remember, Cassie testified to the fact that Diddy used the pseudonym Frank Black to cover up who he was in these freak-offs and these hotel nights. With $46,786 Amex in Amex payments for damages to the penthouse. $46,000. $46,000. This is separate of the first $47,000. $46,000 in damages that he had to pay off. What y'all was doing at these freak-offs? This is crazy. Previous witnesses, okay, so we know about that. There were even more travel charges mentioned on the stand, including a hotel in Riverhead and the Hamptons on Long Island. Penland was then asked about the series of texts and calls between Diddy and Cassie on March 5th and 6th of 2016. The date Diddy is seen on the infamous video assaulting Cassie in the hallway of the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. A text from Diddy says, "The cops are here." A text from Cassie to Diddy reads, "You are sick to think it's okay to do what you have done. Please stay away from me. I have a premiere." Okay, so she's telling him to stay away, and she's saying, like, what you did was sick. So that's, again, she doesn't want to be involved anymore. Penland tells the jury that Diddy texted Cassie to call me, help. Then another text saying, "Help me, I'm about to be arrested." Then another, "If you don't pick up, you'll never hear my voice again." Penland says it appears the call was not answered. So I guess when he realized it was going down and he was about to be arrested, he was asking her for help. And he's saying he was about to be arrested and she wasn't answering him. But he continued to go on and she had a premiere. I believe that was the same night as the Intercontinental Hotel assault video. Because if you remember, when the security who testified that they took money from Diddy, they said that Diddy got Cassie on a phone call and basically said she didn't want the video to leak because she also had a movie premiere that was happening. So I believe that that's probably how this all played out, because she had a premiere. She wanted to be left alone. And Diddy kept threatening her and saying that she needed to answer the phone and saying help. So again, trying to coerce or force her to engage in whatever he had going on. It's not looking good. It's not. Now, something that's important to note, though, is that the prosecution team's case is going to be rested at the end of this week. So if you've been paying attention, most of this has been the prosecution's case so far. They've been calling all the witnesses to the stand, and the defense team has been cross-examining the witnesses that they bring to the stand. So starting next week, the defense team is going to be able to bring their witnesses, who we have no idea who they are yet, but they're going to be able to bring their witnesses to the stand to start testifying in defense of Diddy. So we'll see what happens or what comes of that. But as of right now, that is the latest update. Now, let's quickly get into R. Kelly, because and I hate two peas in a pod. So these two topics are so relatable because they're both insane. So R. Kelly, if you all remember last week, I reported that R. Kelly was asking to be released from prison. The reason he was asking to be released from prison is because he alleged that some of the prison guards and one of the inmates were trying to unalive him. He said that the prison guard, essentially, they had a inmate who is suffering from a terminal illness, a terminal illness, said that he was told by the prison guards or encouraged by the prison guards to take R. Kelly out. The reason R. Kelly's team is saying that this happened is because R. Kelly alleged they have some sort of evidence that the women who testified against R. Kelly in the investigation, that there were some holes in their stories or some lies or something like that that was about to come out. Now, the inmate who had the terminal illness is saying that the way that it happened was that the prison guards told him that if he took R. Kelly out, they would get rid of the evidence that he took R. Kelly out, and then they would transfer him to another prison where he would be allowed to escape to live out the rest of his life before his terminal illness took him out. Now, obviously, that sounds insane because it is. And he's saying that he decided to do the right thing. Now, something that's also important to know about this inmate who was supposed to take R. Kelly out is that the inmate is a part of a gang that is a hate group. So they believe it's a word that rhymes with Otzi. Yeah, the Otzi, right? So he's a part of a hate group. And he decided conveniently to tell R. Kelly that this was going on and give him a heads up, and then reported it to the Bureau of Police in the prison. Why he did that, he said he felt bad. Doesn't make sense to me. You have a terminal illness and you could live your life, and you don't know R. Kelly, and you can live the rest of your life free, but you decided to do the right thing even though you're a part of a gang that is a hate group. The math is not mathing. Anyway, they're asking for him to be released and for him to be pardoned by Trump. Now, what's interesting about this is, again, all of these people asking to be released from prison because of some evidence that's supposed to come out, the evidence never makes it to court. Why are y'all making all these public statements instead of taking the evidence to court? It's giving me copycat, right? Like, you see Tory Lanez doing it, you see what Diddy is doing, and now y'all all trying to figure out a way to get yourselves out of jail, but he needs to stay under the jail because that's where he belongs. Anyway, so yesterday, there was an alleged overdose that happened with R. Kelly, and they're saying that they believe that this is a part of the plot to take him out. Go figure. So R. Kelly is doubling down on his claim that his life is in grave danger in prison, now alleging that the Bureau of Prisons staff at his federal center in North Carolina purposely gave him too much medication, causing an overdose that left him in the hospital. A court filing submitted by his attorney, the Bureau, in Brindley, Monday claims that R. Kelly was left bedridden in a hospital after a solitary confinement staff member instructed him to take additional medication the night of June 12th. The next morning, the Pied Piper allegedly awakened feeling faint and dizzy. When he attempted to get up, fell to the floor, crawled to the door of the cell, and lost consciousness. He was subsequently taken to Duke Hospital, and during the ride there, he claims that he heard a prison officer Bird. Anyway, this is going to open up a whole new can of worms, is what he's alleging he heard the officer say on the way to the hospital. During his 2-day stay at the hospital, Kelly says he learned that he was given an amount of his prescribed medication that could have ended his life. Furthermore, Kelly claims in his Monday filing, prison staff took him off unnecessary blood thinner medication and is now refusing to allow him a doctor-recommended surgery to clear the blood clots in his legs, lungs, and that they're putting his life in danger. Instead, they have him locked up in solitary confinement, where Kelly has expressed to his lawyer he is convinced he will be killed and left to die. Therefore, the disgraced music mogul is asking for temporary release and to home confinement. Okay, for the third time, arguing that his life depends on it. The prosecutors swiftly filed a response to Kelly's request, alleging that he continuously paints himself as a victim, adding the behavior of an abuser, and this is the behavior of an abuser and a master manipulator. Okay. The response also claims that Kelly knowingly submitted an action to the court that has no jurisdiction of his case, accusing him instead of choosing to write to let the court know that he is cold in prison, and to criticize the medical care that he is receiving in order to turn his situation into a grocery store checkout aisle tabloid. Ooh. Let me just say this. All of this is dumb to me, because if you felt like your life was that much in danger in that prison, you could just ask to be transferred. You're asked to be put in solitary confinement. You're asking to be put on house arrest. You're asking for all these things. Take the evidence you have, to court and ask them to transfer you to another local prison or to another prison out of state, anything. But the fact that you're asking to be released from prison and you're not taking this to court and you're not, like, they're filing things, but there's no real evidence being brought up. Like, a judge is not reopening the case. There's something that's not making sense here, and I just don't believe it. R. Kelly needs to stay under the jail. I think that he is hearing all of the stuff that's going on with Diddy and all these other folks, and he's thinking, and Tory Lanez, and he's thinking that he in some way can probably get one over on the court. But I think he just need to hang it up flat screen. It's over. It's done, and that's it. That's morning coffee.